and welcome to Before the Bounce. We've got the AFL Pub Talk. Off the bench tonight, Aaron Bain. Bain, thanks for joining me tonight, mate.
Yeah, standing in for the Hall of Fame great Ando, but you know, I've played well off the bench. I like to rotate through, so happy to step in tonight, mate.
Mate, I just want to touch on Ando quickly. Obviously can't be here tonight, but a massive honour for himself. He kept it very quiet from ourselves at Piranha Media, but to make the Hall of Fame in the SNFL, a massive achievement for Greg himself, and great for us at Piranha Media as well.
I was going to say, any honour like that is a personal achievement, but probably for yourself and even Rocky to work alongside him very closely over the footy season that's been. What a fantastic feather in his cap, and also you're right, for Piranha Media. It's excellent.
Mate, I'm wrapped. I'm very excited. It's
gone straight to his head though. Like he hasn't shown up to the show tonight. Well, what's happened?
now doesn't drive 35 minutes for the show, yeah. Ando. But no, very excited to work alongside of him. He's a great man. Looking forward to getting him on to actually talk about the Hall of Fame as well. But as we should, Aaron, as always, we've got to thank our sponsors. The Exchange Hotel here in Gawler. They're an absolute brilliant sponsor of us here at Before the Bounce as well. Damien McGee, the team up there, excellent nightlife, an excellent meal, and just a great spot to go for a beer as well, mate.
And they've done some really recent upgrades, in the last 12, 18 months, and I tell you what, it does get cranking on a Friday and Saturday night, so great place to be, So.
Mate, and they're about to launch the retractable roof as well on Friday night, which is fantastic.
You'll be there?
We'll be there, yeah. We've got the after party for a show we're doing on Friday there. Yes. It's going to be very, very exciting. But, mate, let's start talking some AFL. Some word come out today that Joe Danaher may potentially not be at Essendon next year.
A name so famous with Essendon as well, the Danaher name. And, the question looms, where will he be? So, Sydney, is that... So Sydney have been touted with, Buddy nearing the end of his career. Obviously being a very good forward. And they've always had those good forwards, so... Is Sydney the possible home for him?
Yeah, well, look, I think Essendon would be silly to get rid of Joe. He's a quality player. Yes, he's had his injury battles this year especially, and probably the last 2 years, but I think he's only going to get better from that. He's still only, I think he's 23 now, so he's still got plenty of footy left in him as a key. Look, I think Sydney, if you're Sydney, you're going to offer the absolute house car to him as well.
The package.
But I think Essendon, on the other hand, they just need to...
Stabilise?
Oh, they need to hold him. Essendon need that key forward. That's probably what they've lacked this year through him not playing. But, look, I'd be disappointed to see him anywhere other than Essendon next year, but it looks like a few clubs might be throwing the kitchen sink at him as such.
He's going to be a marquee player if he has come up on trade talk, but, hey... The Bombers have been in the past willing to let those big names go or let players go. So it will be interesting to see how the next few weeks plays out. But as with any side of the media, and as we do, we play it up a little bit as well for that extra attention, and so there'll be a lot to play out the next few weeks. There'll be other clubs throw their name in the mix as well. Teams like the Gold Coast, if he was on the market, it'd be silly not to go after a marquee player like him if that was to be the case. So they need some depth to their ranks as well.
Well, the Gold Coast have got a lot of issues, and the AFL has to give them some serious assistance, not just priority picks.
Yeah.
There's got to be other things coming from the AFL as well. But Port Power, another interesting one. They recruited Tommy Rockcliffe from Brisbane. He's about to have his third shoulder recode. Now, he's going to miss most of the pre-season, and we saw this year when he missed a lot of the pre-season, he took a bit to get going.
Yeah.
Is that, for Port, are they probably giving away too much in having Rockcliffe do that, or is he going to come good for him, do you think?
Again, it's another interesting debate, and this time of year, his longevity and you can't question his ability. He's a great player, but his longevity to the club, and also how many games will we see out of him next year, or would Port see out of him next year? And certainly, you probably won't see him till that latter half of the year, midway through, if he's going to miss the whole of pre-season. As we've seen before, when he lacks those few games early in the year, it takes a while to get going. So. That's a worry, and Port have also got to make some serious changes, the next club we're going to speak about in Pub Talk, the Adelaide Crows. There's a bit happening in the Adelaide football world, and I tell you what, there'll be some nervous phone calls coming, I think, or the phone's about to ring, I'd say.
Well, the two Adelaide teams are under the most, probably, scrutiny, at least here in Adelaide, out of all the teams. So Port, obviously, I think both teams list where they've finished this year, very, very disappointing. Now, let's move on to the Crows, Aaron. there's a long list of names that have had meetings with other clubs. We're talking both, and we're not just talking fringe players, we're talking quality players.
Yeah.
Rory Laird, the Crouch brothers, Alex Keefe, Hugh Greenwood. Hugh Greenwood looked like, you know, there's a couple of those that look like they're going. Josh Jenkins.
Yeah. Eddie Betts, Cam Ellis-Ullman.
Sam Jacobs, another one. There's a lot of issues at the Crows. What do you make? Obviously, you're a Crows man yourself.
Yeah.
What do you make of that as a Crows supporter?
You know, I read somewhere in an article not long ago where the fans have probably got to stay tough. You know, I know there's a lot of criticism. I'm not one to throw things happen in sides, and you know that maybe there's been a little bit swept under the carpet. I'm not to judge there, and you know, you're not going to dig any deeper into it. I think there's got to be the review, and I think the club's gone about it the right way with getting the likes of Dunstall and Pavlich in, and some, you know, third party eyes to run over the proceedings. They're not there to make any decisions, they're only making recommendations. So I think there's going to be some beneficial outcomes from that review. I look forward to that review as well. I'll monitor it very closely. But I think there's some key players that probably do got to move on and a fresh start. But I don't think we're going to be too rash. I just think there's got to be a few minor adjustments made. And I say we because I am a Crows supporter through and through.
You love your Crowies.
Love me Crowies.
The family loves the
family
Crows.
The family love them. They've still had the same seats since I was a kid. And when they moved Adelaide Oval, they had basically the same seats from Amy Stadium. So in the same location. But yeah. Eddie Betts is a different, interesting one though. You know, someone like him, you know, probably is targeted towards the Gold Coast. You know, but you know, in the latter of his career, so there will be some hard decisions made at the Crows. Yeah,
look, I completely agree. We're going to see probably some big names and some shocks happen. Obviously, Tex Walker's already stood down.
I don't mind that.
We had Troy, who obviously played under Tex, on the show. Talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Rocky put it in our stock report. Said, look, he's a quality player. We just want him to get back to playing footy. Looks like that's happened. Some really good news come out the next day for Tex that he's actually going to have a baby as well, which is brilliant. So great news for Tex. Great news for the Crows. I think we're going to see a lot more happen from the Crows.
Yeah.
Sad news, Aaron. You talked about Jason Dunstall. Obviously, the news of Spud Frawley on Wednesday. Mental health, we talk about it hugely on this show, and you know, about how much it is in sport and that at the moment. Spud Frawley, one of the major media faces for Fox Footy and the AFL. It's, you know, as a media person, as a Fox Footy lover and as a footy lover, the only words I could put it into practice was sad, but to see someone go through mental struggles and then have to get to that extent, it's a massive loss for the game of AFL footy itself.
Oh, it's not even, it's outside of football, it's everyone, you know, it is a massive loss, and you know, condolences with the family and close friends as well, and everyone that's been affected by it. So, you know, unfortunately, you know, it is a very sad moment in the sport as we lead into finals.
Yeah, look, as you said, condolences to the family. Spud Frawley, for me, getting into media was a massive part of that. So it's been really tough to, you know, I guess see that happen to someone of that calibre. But look, I think as we touch on the Crows, they're going to be, there's going to be a lot more to come out of that as well. So a massive week in AFL footy. We're into the second week of finals, which is going to be huge as well across the board. And again, as always, we thank the Exchange Hotel here in Gawler for their ongoing support here at Piranha Media as well. Stick around, we've got plenty more to come here at Before the Bounce as well. Welcome back to Before the Bounce. We've got the SANFL locker room. Thanks to My Foot Doctor. Aaron, Healthy Feet, Happy Athlete, a great sponsor of ours. You haven't been down to My Foot Doctor yourself, mate, after that trip out to Piranha?
Not a bad business name, that, eh? It's a bit quite catchy, but no, I haven't. I probably felt like I needed it after the warm-up, but we got through anyway, but that's all right. And obviously standing in for the great Hall of Famer Ando tonight, so just come off the bench like I did at Piranha.
Yeah, you spent a bit of time on there. I'll tell you what, the bench at Piranha was fantastic. Some sandwiches, oranges on the bench. You don't see that very often.
Snakes.
But Greg Anderson, absolute legend. Great to have him involved here at Piranha Media. Yep. And I'll tell you what, he'd be disappointed that he's missing tonight due to the fact that poor They got a close win over the Bays on the weekend, and they're straight through to a grand final, Aaron.
Quite an interesting one. I was actually, Sunday morning, someone rang me, and then I was actually on the phone to someone a bit later. They said, "Oh, did Glenelg win?" I said, yeah, they won last night. Someone told me they won. They actually got beat. I was telling them Sunday morning the game hadn't even been played. So, you know, someone told me they won. I was a bit I'd lost the speed with the results over the weekend. And then when I actually sat down and watched the Port Glenelg game, and it was quite a good game. It was a ripper of a game, actually. But I misled the person I was talking to Sunday morning that they'd won.
Well, it's look, Glenelg, they've been fantastic all year. Port and Crows, probably the first year since they've been in the SANFL competition that they've had, you know, a full list to pick from.
Yep.
In the past, they've had a lot of injuries throughout the year, but Crows, Glenelg this weekend in the prelim. Glenelg, if you're rooting for the SANFL, you're probably rooting for Glenelg.
Yep.
But it's still now every possibility that we see a Port Crows grand final with the amount of top-up players. So obviously, SA born and bred, Aaron,
Yep.
as a central supporter,
Yep.
I would say, how do you feel about the Crows and Port potentially playing in a grand final?
I know it was an in-depth discussion. You and Endo had this on the show last week, and Glenelg coming off, you know, they're a very good side, of course, but they're coming off getting probably battered and bruised a bit by Port over the weekend, and the Crows had a pretty soft victory in the end over Nord, really give them a bit of a touch-up there in the end, you know, a 10-goal victory. So, really, the Crows are going in with their tails up, and if they can get the jump early, personally, I was with Endo, what he said last week, that'd be great for the SANFL. I wouldn't mind seeing the Crows Port grand final, and I haven't been to a SANFL grand final for many years, but I'll probably head down to that one at Crows Port. You know?
Yeah, look, I'm going to go against you. I'm hoping the Bays get over.
You want a rematch?
Well, I'm just hoping the Bays get over because I think the Bays can go all the way, and I'd still like to see that SANFL team get the win as well. As you said, Crows gave Norwood a touch-up. We spoke really well about the footy they'd been playing last week. Just on that as well, obviously Port are straight into the grand final, but big news out of Woodville West Torrens as well. Now, we saw this posted on Facebook in the last day or two, but Sam Lonigan, who has been a fantastic head coach for Woodville West Torrens, he's actually gone back where he played to Richmond to accept a role after just one season at Woodville West Torrens. So it probably says a lot about him as a coach, how much Richmond are looking for his services. So Woodville West Torrens looking for a new coach after just 1 year of signing their new one.
Yeah, and could our mate Rocky, could Rocky's mate be on the table? Mick, the superstar coach in our notes here, you could have said Mick McGuan, and I know Rocky's very close to him, and you know there could be some talk around that as well. You know he's been a champion player, Mick McGuan, and he's an even better coach. He's a proven coach as well. So could be some interesting times there at Woodville West Torrens. But credit to Sam Lonigan and wish him all the best in his endeavours and to be picked up by AFL club, outstanding. You know? Well,
look, I know the SANFL is not it's second to the AFL. So we always love to see our locals doing extremely well, Aaron, and making it into the AFL, which is great to see Sam Lonigan. But you're right, Rocky. We'll be very excited if Mick McGuan gets the job. I'm
not sure having both of them in the same town will be any good though, if they're both in the same state.
Well, I'll tell you what, we need to actually, I know Rocky's the owner of the show and he doesn't like to talk about it too much, but we need to get him on for an interview because he's got some cracking stories to tell about his days at Woodville.
Are we playing that show in PG rated show or after hours?
Most of the stories I've heard are PG, which is good. But mate, the Redlegs, Norwood, obviously they got bundled by the Crows on the weekend. They've been a quality side for I'd say the last four or 5 years. They've been absolutely brilliant. Hearing a lot of retirements out of their list. It was probably due to come as well. Yeah,
and you know it's like AFL. We talk draft time. There's plenty of changes coming on all this. There's some retirements being talked about there, so there's plenty to play out over the summer. You know?
Well, I'll give you a rumour. Mitch Grigg, absolute quality player. There's rumour of him going to be up in the Barossa. In either I've heard Kapunda, I've heard Freeling, I've heard Barossa. So if Mitch Grigg makes his way to the Barossa, it's only going to make our competition, Aaron, even stronger.
100%, yeah, it certainly will, and it's already a strong comp to BLNG.
And mate, the other club I want to discuss, and one we've probably been talking about for a while now, West Adelaide, probably didn't have the greatest of years. In fact, from their premiership a couple of years ago, they've really struggled, Aaron. Talk of now a couple of early recruits. Now, I have heard of a couple of those names. Jono Beach, who obviously played at the Crows, along with a couple of others. Middleton looks like he's moved on, whether it's to another SANFL club or not. But West Adelaide also in a bit of strife, Aaron, as well.
Probably not. Yeah, a bit of strife, probably, one word you could use, or it's a rebuilding phase, and the difference between how their season goes next year is that 4 or 5 recruits. If they can land 4 or 5 big names, Jono Beach, one of them, owns a horse with Bain Racing, so just a little plug there. But if they can lob, 3 or 4 decent players, hey, they're right back in contention. And I think the SANFL, as we've seen last year with Port, they finished in the bottom half this year and straight through to a grand final. The league and the games can change so quickly with 1 or 2 recruits.
Yeah, 100%. West Adelaide, I think they're going to have to recruit maybe a bit heavier than 3 or 4. Yeah. My reports is they're maybe more than half a dozen leaving, which will leave them in a little bit of strife. But look, I think the SANFL as a whole, obviously we got the news from Central Districts that they're going to be looking for a new coach now. Woodville West Torrens as well, so it's a very exciting. Well, mate, it's a very exciting time to be around SANFL footy with the prelim final coming up next week as well into a grand final. But that's all we got time for, Aaron, at the SANFL locker room. We thank My Foot Doctor for their ongoing support here at Before the Bounce. Stick around, we've got plenty more footy to talk about. Welcome to Before the Bounce. We've got the country wrap-up brought to you by Peter Page Holden and Rachel Laurie, I should say, at Ray White, North Adelaide as well. Both fantastic sponsors here at Before the Bounce. With me, I've got Jack Miles from the Anguston Football Club, the skipper. Jack, thanks for coming on, mate.
Nighty, thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, we've had a lot of the Anguston boys on this year. Ryder Eberhard, the 3 recruits, Shannon Samo and Bomber Borholm as well. We've got the skipper on now, mate, and the reason we got yourself on, you're playing in the grand final on the weekend, the first time in 15 years, I reckon. Must be exciting as a skipper.
Yeah, very exciting, Matt. Obviously, from where we've come from the last couple of years to where we are now, it's really a credit to the local boys who have stuck around as a group and who have really drived us up the ladder this year.
Mate, I want to talk about yourself first. The Miles name, it doesn't just start with you at Anguston. You're a 3rd generation Miles to skipper the club. It must be as a 3rd generation, it must be really exciting and I guess make you feel very proud, and it probably makes your dad and your grandfather proud to be able to follow in their legacy as well.
Yeah, of course. I grew up as a young fellow running around the footy club since the age of 5, I reckon, sleeping under the 8-ball table and whatnot as you do growing up. It's a great place to be around a football club. You make plenty of friends that are lifelong mates, and I am very proud to obviously captain the Anguston Footy Club. Following in the footsteps of obviously Grandpa and then the old man as well. Just really keen to see what we can do this weekend.
Mate, obviously the old man captained a flag as well, so he was in a grand final. Your grandfather, now we're not sure if he captained a flag or not. He played in a flag. It must be, really exciting again for you to be able to lead the team into battle for a grand final against a very good Tanunda on Saturday. It must be just exciting, and it's going to be a brilliant game. Yeah,
it's very exciting, obviously, to get the chance to run out there on Saturday, to play in a grand final first and foremost, but then obviously have a red hot crack at knocking off a good side in Tanunda. I'm pretty confident that we've got the boys out there that can get the job done, and pretty keen for Saturday. Obviously, it's been a long couple of days, and just itching to get out there now.
Mate, now, obviously you've had some unbelievable players come into the team this year. Over the time, though, you've played with some serious players. Tyler Saunders. Who would you pick as the best player that you've played with in your time playing A-grade for the Anguston Footy Club?
Including this year?
Including this year.
Including this year, Jay Shannon would probably reckon that it's him, but there's always a bit of competition between him and Samo, I reckon. So, look, it's hard to say. Played with some great ones in the past. Obviously, Jackson O'Brien, who's now at North Clare. He was quality. I can remember a couple others, well, not that I played with, but David Green was someone who played in 2003, which was our last flag, who I always looked up to. Brenton Bascombe, another one, another quality player. But yeah, probably Samo would be pretty hard to go past.
The resume
speaks for itself, obviously, but then Bomber as well, different sorts of players, ruckman, compared to on-ballers, so everyone's good in their own right, I guess.
My boy Bomber as well.
Your boy Bomber.
Shout out to Mark Borholm. But mates as well, this year, you touched on Jay Shannon. He likes to say that he's done a lot for a club, but really what those boys have done has been brilliant. But a lot gets talked about those boys, but it's really the rise of Jaden Anthony that 2 years ago was playing B-grade footy.
Yep.
You get Benny Anthony back to the club, Ryder Eberhard back to the club, Ryan Carnelli back to the club. They've been as important as those three big recruits, haven't they?
Yeah, they're massive. Obviously being 0 points as well, then you chuck Steve Rusker in the mix, who's another one.
Handy.
So handy, yeah. Those boys are massive. And because they're locals as well, they're always keen around the club. Not just training nights, whether it be weights, Monday, Wednesday nights, they're always up for a kick, and they're the ones that have really lifted the standards, obviously having that SANFL experience, coming back now, and they're really driving the group forward.
Mate, now a couple of weeks ago you played Tanunda in the second semi, and we obviously South Australian footballers, shout out to Hosey and the crew, our other crew here at Piranha Media. We cover the game and just got word that Bunga Ahern, premiership captain of the West Coast Eagles last year, two-time All-Australian player, was just tuning in to watch the boys. So that must really give you a bit of excitement and a bit of a pump up that you got someone of his calibre checking in to still see how the club's going.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, Shannon, when he's always around at Anguston, he always pops up, says g'day, speaks to all the young boys, makes them feel like you're just one of the lads, really, and he's always a keen observer to see how we go on the weekend. So to have Bung around the club when obviously he's not around, it's huge, and I know he'll be watching pretty closely on Saturday. Mate,
it's going to be a big game against Tanunda on the weekend. They've got you at the moment 2-1, but I want to leave that to one side for a second. It's coming into finals.
Yep.
I've heard from a couple of your good mates, Joel Oxenham being one, that you're on a very strict diet at the moment. Talk us a little bit through that.
I am, mate. At the start of the year, I'd played 100 games, and I thought to myself, this year we sort of had the group to really go forward and play that finals footy. So I thought a couple of weeks before finals, I'd try to get myself in the best nick I can. Obviously don't want to play another 100 games without playing in final series again. So I've been cutting back a little bit from some fast food and whatnot, especially living down here in Gola, not anymore, but the chicken wings on a Wednesday night at the Exchange used to get me a little bit. But I just want to do everything possible to obviously have a red hot crack this year and get as far as we can.
When you talk about the chicken wings,
yes.
We are filming on Wednesday night. A few of my mates are up there for the chicken wings as well. Great sponsor of us, the Exchange. But you also, I've heard that your lovely partner, Jasmine Truscott, she's tried to slip a few junk items home, and you've given her a mouthful about it.
No, I don't know where you got that from, but maybe Joel Oxenham's spinning a little bit too much there. But as I said, I just really want to make the most of this year and see what we can get out of it. So they can wait until at least Saturday or Sunday. We'll hook into them again, I reckon.
Mate, Saturday come 5 o'clock. I reckon either way you'll be hooking into it. Now, is it true? Obviously, we've got the trim here at the moment.
Yes.
Is there going to be a new trim for the grand final on the weekend?
Look, I'm not sure, Matt. I usually get
I've been
one.
told there
it's
will
about
be.
Once every 4 weeks, but I had one first game against Tanunda, so I'm not sure whether I can stretch this do out or not, or whether she'll need to get the chop come Friday. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Mate, and lastly, the nickname Smilesy.
Yeah.
I think the viewers could understand where it comes from. But obviously, always a ball of energy, and really probably the reason why at Angerson people follow you. You got such a good group. But the nickname Smilesy, mate, that has just come from the fact that you never do anything but a smile.
Yeah, well, I think it just sort of ties in a bit with the last name as well, Miles, Smile. So yeah, it's just sort of stuck. So yeah, no, it's good. The boys have probably got a couple others for me as well, but yeah, Smilesy will do. Mate,
thank you very much. It's going to be an absolute brilliant game on Saturday. The SA Footballer, we're going to be there live streaming the game onto Facebook as well. Thank you to Lee and Mary as well, who put all the video together as well. So it's going to be a brilliant day at Freeling Oval. Angus and Tanunda, probably the two best teams in the comp, mate. And I tell you what, if Angerson get to hold up that cup at the end of the day, I reckon you'll be a very, very happy man.
I will be, mate. Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much for coming on tonight, Jack. And thank you to Peter Page Holden and Rachel Laurie at Ray White North Adelaide as well for their ongoing support here at Before the Bounce. All right, we got Matt's Mad Multi, brought to you by Punk Club. Jason Neve and the team at Punk Club. Aaron, a fantastic app if you're looking to have a bet with your mates, your footy club. There's a lot of footy clubs out there that do have a Punk Club. And it's nice, easy to use, mate. We've used it as well, so a brilliant application.
100%, and it always gives that bit extra spending money come footy trip time for those footy clubs out there. So it's a great concept, and great to have them on board this year with Before the Bounce, and also racing, chasing and pacing.
Yeah, the thing I love about it is that they've got their own goals that you can reach, golf trips, just things that us lads like that you can set a target to reach to as well. So it's 100%. Fantastic. Get your footy club on it. It means no one has to run it. It's nice, easy to use. Download the Punk Club app today or jump onto the website punkclub.com as well. Aaron, we're heading into the Geelong West Coast game this week.
Be a belter.
To find our multi-special. Last year's premiers taking on Geelong, who have been in red hot form. I'll tell you what, last week I got a few messages come through saying this multi's going to get up. We were unlucky in the sense that...
Got the early crow.
Yeah, well, Josh Kennedy kicked his 4 at half time, which we had, and Elliot Yeo, we just needed him to kick a goal, and the margin 1-39. West Coast obviously blew it out in the end, but it's always gamble responsibly, Aaron, but we got a beauty this week as well, mate. So, looking at that Geelong West Coast game, we've got Geelong 1-39 at $1.92. Lock them in for it, I reckon, Aaron.
Lock them in. It burnt you last week, but we'll take it this week, right? We'll go second chance.
We'll take it again. Paddy Dangerfield, his last 3 games of the year, I reckon he polled 9 Brownlow votes when we get to Brownlow Day. 20 touches, 2 goals at $2.45.
I like that on its own. That's a good stand out there.
I reckon you'll have it on your own as well, Aaron. That's the second one. Flying Ryan from the West Coast Eagles as well to kick 1.5 goals or more. So he's just got to kick 2 at $2.45.
Can he kick 1 goal and 3 points and get the multi there or not? No.
No, he's got to. Okay. He's got to kick the 2, Aaron. Right, but he's very much a chance to do that as well. Now, the 4th leg as well, Aaron, a lot of people will be disgusted at this leg, but Tim Kelly to have less than 19.5 touches at 3.25.
What's your theory there?
I think he's now announced that he's going to be elsewhere but Geelong. We've seen in the past it has a big effect on people's football when they hit the track as well. So I'm just thinking that, you know, he's made that announcement. That might be a bit tough as well. But the odds you're getting there, Aaron, are $10.07 as well. So if you're having a punt on the footy on the Geelong West Coast game, jump on Matt's Mad Multi as well, thanks to Punk Club, Jason Eve and the team, and gamble responsibly as always.
We'll be following.